This is a UV printed brass weight on the back. It's kind of neat. Today's board is the LZ keyboard that I've been taking a look at, I guess, for the last little bit, and we're finally gonna build. This is also kind of expensive. It's $585, I wanna say. Let me just quickly double check. I can't remember off the top of my head. Sorry, I mixed up my 8 and my 5. It's 558, so $558. So this is the LZ CLS SE. It has a really cool weight on it. It is kind of spendy, it is pricey. Again, kind of pricey, kind of spendy. Classic design, also has that mid, acrylic plate, which you guys will see as well. Got some screws in the bag. A little thank you sticker, which I didn't even realize was on this until right now. And then we have our PCB and our plates, in quotations. So PCB and plate. We'll take a look at these more in depth. Oh, this is hot swap. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I thought today was gonna be a solder build. Well, that makes my life a little easier, because now I can maybe reuse the macchiatos or switch them out. Here's the deal with this, by the way. Was gonna mention this as we took out the board. This was sent over. I don't know if they need this back or not. I'm assuming they don't need this back. This is not a sponsored stream out of that though. So this is just me taking a look at the board. If we do get to keep this board, I will be giving it away eventually. So just as to be as transparent as I possibly can, that will be given away. I am not planning on keeping this even if they let me keep it. I most likely will give it away or send it back. So just so you guys know too, LZ board for a giveaway. Yeah, it won't happen like immediately because I probably have to take photos and stuff. So the color on this is nice. And then I believe if I read correctly, I'm not misunderstanding what the back is for the weight. This is a UV printed, or I guess UV something or other, brass weight on the back. It's kind of neat. I don't quite know how I feel about it. Yeah, I thought it was cork as well, but it's brass. And you can see the acrylic diffuser here down the center, as well as the non-recessed USB-C cable port. It kind of does feel like it's textured. So yes to that. When I first looked at this though, my immediate thing, because this is UV, this is not like a natural sort of patina, which I don't know if I'll be able to properly show you guys this. All right, you can see the pattern. It's a very tight pattern, so you can see the repetition in the pattern. Can you guys see that? So I'm not too sure, again, how I feel about the UV print on this and all that stuff. From a distance, it looks cool, I guess. It's different. Again, I just wish that they maybe had a, I don't mean to call it a lazy pattern, but I do feel like if they were gonna create some sort of texture to not have it repeating so often, you can see the repetition on the pattern here, and then does it show it up one more time on the left? No. But I kind of wish it had a bigger surface area for the pattern. That's my only main gripe about what they did here. Phillips screw bothers me more. Well, I haven't even gotten to that yet. There is a lot of screws to this, so I probably will need to use my other screwdriver kit. I don't know if in that little package here they had other screw heads. I don't think it's all, I think it's all Phillips. That is a bit of a nuisance as well. Again, like for a higher end board, something, with this price range, I would have preferred, obviously, to not have something like Phillips. These things strip rather easily. In fact, I don't know why, this one particular screw looks like it already has a little bit of damage to it. It's a very classic design. It's your basic box on wedge with a higher typing angle, and I'm not quite positive on the front height, but it is rather high. I think this board is targeted towards a very specific audience, people who maybe want something very classic looking, and inside we have this rather strange, I'm not too sure if I need to break this off or not. Probably do, but this acrylic diffuser in the center. It definitely feels like a dated design, and I think that's the point, oddly enough. It's supposed to be a board kind of based off of the other LZ board, and I've built a few LZ boards. They all kind of feel the same. in terms of visual aesthetics, but rather clean anyways. So I don't know what else is available for high-end TKLs at the moment. We have our PCB, no daughter board on this, just your typical standard soldered in USB-C socket. I believe this is top mount. There's no other options for anything, so this is pretty standard for that. It's not going to be moving around at all. No, I don't believe this is a fave. I think this is a McLovin PCB. It is. This is not a fave PCB, so bonus points to that because I am not a big fave PCB guy. This is a McLovin. It's pretty newish. It even has the spare diodes over here in case you guys make, in case there's some sort of issue with that. McLovin PCB, kind of nice. All right, I guess we can just start diving into this. And I believe there's two different plates, an FR4 and an aluminum, which I might go with I might actually go with aluminum today, or FR4 rather. I know I don't love FR4 top mount, but I kind of want to give it another go. I think we'll go with FR4 today. Ooh, I like there's like a bit of a texture on this anode for the plate. I don't know if you guys can really vibe with see that. I don't know if that's on purpose, but kind of looks like weathered, and I kind of like that. When I tell you guys this is pretty much, your very classic, in a way, outdated design, I very much mean that. There is a mounting point right underneath the space bar. I probably won't install it, so again, I do think this is made for a very specific audience. It should be interesting regardless though. Like, I'm still probably gonna have a lot of fun. We could cut it off technically too, because this is FR4. But let's see where we get to today. Your question was, have I ever thought about offering a thing to help people pick parts could charge for it? I have offered a consulting service, and I will be the first to admit it basically did not work. Cute switches though. HMX macchiatos. Is there anything you absolutely hate in a keyboard? There are grievances I have with certain keyboard design aspects. Hate, I feel, is a bit of a strong word. I feel like for me to hate something, there has to be something like genuinely super wrong with it. I don't even hate flex cuts, honestly. I know it's like the meme would be just for me to say that right now. It'd be like, fuck flex cuts and screw 1.2 millimeter PCBs. I don't hate them. What I dislike about it is when people like start to think that's the only option available for a keyboard. There are certain, I would say there are actually more things that I dislike about the hobby and Stigma in the keyboard hobby than the keyboard hobby. It's like the actual like keyboard parts themselves. If that makes sense. Yeah, and then this is kind of like a slab of aluminum and brass over here. I'm not too sure how big the brass weight would be, but seems to be mounted from the outside, which is fine. I don't mind that. And then we have the acrylic piece in the center and then the top frame, which says LZ, made in Korea. Really nothing else too special about the top frame though. Am I missing a screw? It's okay, I didn't want to screw in the space bar anyways. Ooh, I kind of like this color of the case. The more I look at this color of the case, it's quite nice. It's like it has like a little tint of something to it. I'm not sure what it is exactly, but. Am I supposed to cut this, by the way? I have no idea if I am or not. I'm just gonna cut it because it's already broken on one side here. Yeah, the PCB does have RGB on it. All right, time to screw things in. This one screw is kind of jarring, how they put it here. I don't quite understand that. Whatever, it's in the bottom. So again, to sum this up, I don't particularly like the pattern on the weight. I think the pattern has way too many repeating elements, as I showed you guys with the zoom. I think also the keyboard needs to be slightly updated in terms of internals. Very, very minor point, really. Price point for this, I do feel like is just way too high. Like, there's no arguing. I guess this is supposed to be targeted towards a very particular audience of people, but got the True North Novas. No regrets. Ooh. There are a few IEMs I wouldn't mind checking out in the future. I think I also now finally have like a person who can fix my Sony IER Zonbonars, so I need to ship it out to them too. Just to show you guys the weight from the side. Again, has a bit of a texture to it, more so in certain places. I feel like it's kind of an uneven texture almost. Would have been super cool had they made the pattern a little bit bigger and not repeating constantly. Again, you can kind of see where it repeats. The pattern is just like supposed to be a pattern flyback. I don't think there's any like rhyme or reason for it. Just a texture that they UV printed on the back of the weight. Sloth for this lazy day. I do feel like today's a bit lazy for me. I'm very much enjoying this color combo. Okay, I'm happy with this. I see the RGB is on. It's not that bright in the daylight though. You can kind of see it with my light off, sorta. Sorta, not really. You can kind of see it, but it is not that bright. Cable placement, I like right aligned or left. I mean, I'm kind of impartial to the alignment of cables, so yeah, it's not that bright. Maybe it has to do with the settings of the PCB. Let me double check VIA. I don't know if this is VIA compatible actually, let's see. I think it is. But here is the board again. This is the LZ CLS SE. We'll show you guys the side profile. Yeah, I didn't load up in VIA. It's an acrylic piece. It's supposed to have some accent RGB or accent LED, whatever you want to call it. It's not very bright, at least from me plugging it in. It could be that I have to adjust it, but I can't do that right off the fly there. It does have a pretty higher typing angle, and it does look, I don't know exactly, because I don't think I saw any stats on it. I don't know if it's changed from the other LZ boards, but it doesn't look like there's a listed front height on this. But it does look taller. No, I'm not too sure. 9-degree typing angle, but no listed front height. It looks like about 20 plus. 9 degrees, not the end of the world. I've used taller and I'm usually fine with that. That's the side profile. Here is the back. A little bit of a higher USB-C port. Me personally, one objective thing about higher USB-C ports is it can stress out your cable a little bit if your cable is a little bit more weighted and needs to pull down. So just be careful with something like this. It has a UV printed brass weight. It is a fairly chunky weight, like it does have some weight for the keyboard. However, if you guys noticed, and I pointed this out right at the beginning of the stream as well, the pattern that's UV printed or coated on this weight repeats itself pretty often. So you'll get the same markings over and over and over again. I would have preferred them to spend an extra few minutes and design a pattern or just something a little bit more random and scattered. It feels kind of cheap doing it this way here. Like, it doesn't feel like a lot of love and care was put into this pattern. Maybe that can be corrected for the actual group buy. And the board is very expensive. Again, I think this board is probably targeted towards a very particular audience, but this is a very expensive keyboard at $558, at least what's listed. I don't know if that's going to change. They didn't mention any sort of price changes. Very expensive. I don't know if that just comes to the territory of buying into this LZ branding, because I think most of them have been pretty pricey, but it is expensive for a classic top mount styling of a TKL as well. So let's see what it sounds like though. I agree with you, Small Eagle. That's kind of, if you want my opinion on do I think this is worth the price it's listed for, unless you love the LZ brand, I don't think it is personally. I think this would feel better to me at like a $350 max price range. I don't think there's enough components here, and you know, there's nothing really new in this to demand such a high price personally, But again, if you're kind of in that, like, you gotta have that LZ branding, then you know, you do you. But I would personally pick the Event Horizon. I think the Event Horizon comes out a little bit cheaper too. All right, let's see what this sounds like now. Classic top mount Macchiato HMX switches, FR4 plate. It does sound nice. It does sound very, very nice. The switches are fantastic. I got to admit, these HMX switches, ooh, should unplug it before tapping those. I did leave the spacebar mounting point unscrewed, which is a bit problematic for me. Also, just to let you guys know too, this did not have any hex screws. It seemed to only have Phillips. So again, a little bit of a miss there as well. I don't know why they decided to go with Phillips screws, especially for something so expensive. I can't complain about the sound though. It sounds like your classic top mount, which is good. The switches definitely sound great with this combination. Can't complain in that department, I guess. But yeah, I do think there are a few bits and pieces of this board that are sort of, they need to be addressed and refined. The screws might be actually the biggest one for me. Phillips screws do not sound good. I do like this spacebar though. Yeah, I think the real wow here, which I don't want to take away from the keyboard build itself, the real wow for me is those Macchiato HMX switches. It's hard for me to justify this as a recommendation to anyone unless you absolutely love this design. And there's not even much to it. It's very classic. Again, it does have that interesting sort of UV printed weight. I like the idea of it, but the color of this is really nice. Again, just a little tough to get to that point where you're justifying that. Did someone say they want to hear a Nixie spacebar? I'll show you what that sounds like. I heard someone say it. Oof. Alex just has a handful or a pocket full of Nixies to pull at any time. Dude, I got Nixies on deck always, bro. Alex listened to the voices in his head. He's hearing voices. Oh man. This is my, this board sounds great. I can never consider it though. It's very expensive. Again, if they drop this down to, I don't know how they would, but if that's in the cards for them to drop this down to something like the 350 zone, it might be more realistic to pick up. But with the front height being so high, because this is tall, I don't know the exact height of this front height, man, but like, this is really tall. I would have to hover my wrists. I don't know if this would be a reasonable pickup for anyone who's not already a fan of the LZ branding. Again, is it niche? Yes. And is it fine that it's niche? 100%. Like I said at the beginning of this whole stream, this is going to be very, very specific to who this is targeted to. Who makes LZ? It's Life Zone, I believe, is what they're actually called. It's a Korean brand. Like, who's behind it? I don't know personally who's behind it. I just know that, I don't know if Kezawa is the one manuing this board. So, yeah, I'm not too positive. Not positive at all. But just as another little side note too, It did sound different, yeah, Spark. It did. With the Nixies, it sounded more like my typical like space bar that I'm sort of into. Little side note as well, just a little shout out too, because I'm going to be the judge for that mechanical keyboard design competition. So if you guys haven't already checked out their website and wanted to enter, I think it's going to be fun. I'm excited to see what people create for the design competition. Here, I'll get you guys the link. Again, one of the prizes is basically, I think it's almost like $3,000 or something like that of funding towards, $5,000 rather, sorry, of funding towards your prototype. So if you guys had something you wanted to submit to this, like a design that you guys were thinking of, you get $5,000 worth of funding as a prize. And you get basically guided through the idea of having like a prototype to production unit. I already did a sound test, yes. Love you guys. Thanks for being here. Bye, everybody.